Hi everyone, this is Sophie, and with my Puce podcast, I share my ideas, my visions, and I meet inspiring people to explore how to activate communities to care for nature and people. And today I'm with Emily and Dave from UpRoot Colorado, which is a great organization that I'm so excited to finally meet and to learn more about what they do and what they're about. And so we're going to talk about that today. But first, I would love to know a little bit more about the two of you. If you could introduce yourselves and also introduce UpRoot, the story of UpRoot.
Sure.
Colorado.
Thank you, Sophie. My name is David Laskarzewski. I'm a co-director at UpRoot Colorado.
And I'm Emily Larson. I'm the Gleaning and Food-systems Coordinator for Boulder and Broomfield Counties.
So UpRoot Colorado was started in late 2016 as an idea. What we do is we work with farmers, producers, to harvest the surplus that farmers have on farms, and then we use volunteerism, community volunteerism, to come and help us harvest, and then we redistribute the food within the communities to people who don't have access to healthy food. And so today we're on a farm, friend's farm here in Lafayette, Colorado, and Emily led the glean today. So it's November 20th at 5,400 feet above sea level. About 50 degrees, but we were gleaning food in November, so that's a really exciting thing for us. So do you want to share, Emily, a little bit about today and what you do throughout the year?
Yeah, so today we had two volunteers besides Dave and myself, and we came out to this farm. I met with the farmer yesterday, and he showed me what was ready to be picked, and we came out here and we picked a bunch of bok choy, we picked some lettuce, we picked some green onions and some beautiful pink turnips. So we harvested all this crops for a couple hours, and then we weighed it, and I'm going to be delivering it to a local food bank. But also, this year we've actually been partnering with some kind of exciting new peoples within the community. We worked with Boulder County Public Health, and we're working with their farm to early child care centers. So we've been delivering to 3 Head Start programs, 2 in Boulder, 1 in Lafayette, and then we also have been delivering up in Longmont to a low-cost child care center called Wild Plum. And so today that little crate of produce, in a couple minutes we'll be dropping it off at the daycare. One of the major things is at UpRoot we want to try to meet people where they're at, and so delivering to the community, through these daycare centers. We also are partnering with Boulder Food Rescue, another local great nonprofit in the area, and we found communities where people can take the food and distribute it within their own community. So a community leader will meet us, I'll drop the food off, and then they'll give it to their community. And so yeah, it's been really exciting. We've had a great season. I think we gleaned about 19,500 pounds of produce, which is over 260,000 servings of food.
In this county? In
this county alone, yep. And
then a year?
In this season, yeah.
This season?
And really a few short couple months. But we also partnered with 20 hunger relief agencies, which has been amazing. Anywhere from a food bank, a food pantry, all these different locations within the community. So yeah, we've had a great season. Over 43 gleaning events.
Wow.
And then we also do pickups on farms. So we'll already harvested produce that the farmer has in excess, maybe after a farmer's market or just doesn't have a market for it, we'll come and pick up that harvested food and then also redistribute it.
So UpRoot works across there's 64 Colorado counties. Emily works in one of the 15 counties that UpRoot works across in the state. Nationwide in the United States, there's an estimate of 31 billion pounds of food that is remaining on farms, and a couple of the reasons. One reason is there's a lack of supply of agricultural labor in Colorado and across the country. And there are also, in some cases, farmers cannot sell everything they grow because in the United States there are cosmetic standards imposed upon produce. And so the marketplace currently wants produce to look a certain way. And in nature, it doesn't always grow the way markets want it to look. So that means there's a lot of nutrient-dense, perfectly edible food on the farm fields. And so farmers, out of their generosity, allow us to leverage community volunteerism to reconnect people with their food supply. And I know, Sophie, your podcast is really about trying to reconnect people with the environment and the importance of the environment. And so I think UpRoot tries to accomplish that by getting the community to come back to where the origins of their food, parts of their food are, which is the land. And so we talk to the community often when they get here, the volunteers. We share a little bit about how difficult farming is. In 2022, the United States Department of Agriculture let out a stat that said the median farm household income across the country in the United States, both large and small farms, was negative $986. So being a farmer is risky business, but they're very generous. Part of their vocation is to feed the community. And so what we try to do is just reconnect people to their food, one of their food support supplies, which is the land, the soil. And then through that, hopefully they revalue the life-sustaining value of food. In the United States, a quarter of the landfills in the United States is food scraps. That is the largest component. So people with food equity take it for granted. They discard food because they believe they can get it again. But when you put an organic material in a landfill, which is an anaerobic setting, it creates methane. So literally throwing away half a sandwich is an environmental hazard, as also it's not really ethical. When you have a certain part of the population, and a large part, that doesn't have regular access to healthy food, which really is a basic human right.
Mm-hmm. And they estimate about 35 to 40% of the food that is produced in the United States is actually wasted. So it's pretty staggering. And so what we try to do is, if people are more connected to their food, they have an appreciation for it, then they might not waste their food as much. They might, think about being more careful what they purchase and how to use it, and be creative with how they eat their food rather than wasting it.
And also buy locally. Like, think about buying from local farmers. Think about how you can really reduce your footprint, carbon footprint, by where do you get your food from. Because it's very important. Like, nutrient-dense food is a pathway to kind of bringing out your potential. So
that's beautiful. And one thing that I thought was really interesting that didn't click in my mind at first is that when we gleaned here all this beautiful food, we had to be also careful about food dignity. Can you talk a little bit more about this? I thought it was an amazing vision of why we're doing what we're doing, and just keeping in mind, be mindful about what you take or what you don't take from the land.
I have a question. What do you think about when it's kind of aphid infested?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Because they can kind of wash it.
I know.
It's
Well,
kind of gross. I know food banks are sensitive to getting bugs.
it's right, and it's also food dignity.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah.
we're doing the best. I mean, they will understand that on November 20th with greens in Colorado that they're going to be a little rough.
Yeah.
But if you wash them and put them in a salad with dressing, it'll be fine. I mean, they're a little slightly bitter, but I think that would I eat them in a salad?
Yeah.
Sure. But I also have food equity.
tricky.
So food dignity is the idea that there is a certain part of the population who does not have access to healthy food. And so, again, at UpRoot, we believe that access to healthy food is a basic human right, and everybody should have access, regular access to healthy food. Because the system currently in the United States we have not achieved that. When we're harvesting food, you want to make sure, because we know the majority of this food is going to go to people who don't have regular access, we want to make sure that we're getting food to them that looks like food that anyone with food equity could get in a store. Because food is also a language, and you want to make people feel as though they matter. And so you can do that in a number of ways, and you can do that non-verbally. And a way to do that non-verbally with food is to make sure that the food that we're giving them that they don't have consistent access to looks and feels as though it has integrity, and they can walk away feeling like they've got fresh food that I could go buy in a store.
I don't know. We picked this kale before and it was so filled with aphids. So I'd be kind of just going through here and seeing if there's any that we can. This might not be worth it. Yeah, this is a good kale.
This is going to be tough. These guys look like they're ready for soil enrichment.
Alright, I think they're not looking good and they're aphid filled. And so that might look like, making sure the produce isn't infested with bugs or doesn't have too much, wormholes in it or, that sort of thing. And just kind of being mindful of it.
I think the nature is so abundant, and I think it's so amazing that you were able to get some of this abundance and share it with the community. What's your vision for the future? How could we make it this abundance that nature offers us through some work, of course, with the farmers, like making sure that it grows well, but how do you see in the future that we can grow this abundance, like grow what UpRoot's doing, or maybe do you have a vision of what the future of food could be?
Well, personally, every person that you ever meet is a active participant in the food system, which gives me hope, because if I could get 1 million people to spend 6 hours on a farm, would that begin to change their point of view about the value of food? So because we're all members of the food system, whether we realize it or not, we're all active members, our decisions matter. If I throw away half of that peanut butter sandwich, that matters, versus if I either eat it a day earlier or compost it. It matters. So what I'm hoping that UpRoot could become is a tool that the community can use to reconnect or connect with its very own food system and transition from passengers of our food system to stewardship and stewards of our food system. That would be, Sophie,
That's
my
amazing.
vision.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. What can we do to make it sustainable in the long term? What challenges do you have with UpRoot to make it sustainable as a model? Can you talk a little bit about the sustenance of the organization? How can this work better? We talked a little bit before about the funding situation. How can we have a model that works economically for this to grow?
Well, I think ultimately, UpRoot is a relatively young organization. Like, the idea started in late 2016. We were 3 years under fiscal sponsorship, and then we received from the Department of Treasury in the United States, we received our nonprofit 501c3 status in early 2020. So this is our 4th full year as a nonprofit. So a nonprofit journey in many ways is a very organic, evolving journey, and it's about proving concept to potential funders. Here's what we've done. We started with 2 people who were not paid, and now we've got 2 full-time staff, and we have a cadre of 6 coordinators who are part-time staff. So it's an evolution, and I think that to prove concept, you need to have funding to prove concept to pursue the mission. But ultimately, I would like UpRoot to be an organization that people, the community, can use to reconnect and see the value of food. And then at such a point, the community should be the stewards of its own food system.
Yeah, I think ultimately having people understand and support local farms is also a great and a wonderful goal that we would like to have. I think there's this other side that Dave and I have talked about where, the more produce we glean, sometimes that's a sign of actually hardship for a farmer. And so, to be always measured on what are your numbers and are you getting bigger? You know, there's also this kind of feeling of, you know, there's some pain there and there's some suffering there because either a farmer doesn't have the labor or they don't have the market, or so it's interesting. I think UpRoot could also evolve over time to kind of fit the need, you know, as things change. But I think the hope is to just, like Dave said, activate people around the food system and get them excited, supporting local, you know, and understanding where your food comes from.
Is there a way that we could support, that this could evolve to support the farmers better? If that's a sign of hardship for them, is there a way that they could be integrated into the loop so that they would also benefit from this?
Well, I think one way is the more volunteerism, the more community we can get on farms, the more we can introduce people to local farms. And hopefully, you know, we talk to people, and sometimes the farmers will come and talk to volunteers about, I have a consumer supported agriculture, I have a CSA. You can find me at the farmers market on Wednesdays or Saturdays. I deliver to these restaurants, so please, if you want, go patronize those restaurants. So I think that part of what we do is we try to elevate the role of producer, farmer in our community, and hopefully people are signing up for a CSA if they're impressed with the farm that they're at. So that's a little way we can help. But to your point, Emily, I think that we do in the United States, we measure, we're too fixated in the hunger relief system on pounds, amounts. And really what we should be fixated on is focusing on is more people liberated from the hunger relief system, more food equity, more healthy food equity, and more food sovereignty. Like, that's the more that we should be working on. Like, people need to eat so we can hold that symptom level. There's surplus hungry people. We can try to help feed them. So that's the symptom problem. But the systems level is trying to liberate hunger from our society, if you will.
Thank you. One more question, maybe my last question, unless you have something else to add. I want to know why you two are involved in this. Why are you passionate about what you're doing? Why did you first start doing all this?
Well, I can start. I grew up on an organic vegetable farm. My dad's a farmer in New England, in Massachusetts. So I've been around food. I love food. I think everyone deserves to eat good food. And so I also went to school and I was an environmental scientist, and I was in consulting for a while, and I really wanted to kind of get back to my roots and get back to farms, and I also really wanted to be in the community and be helping people within a community. And so when I kind of made a career transition a year ago, I found UpRoot, and it just felt like this great combination for me of you know, my past and sort of what I want to do in the future. So that's why I'm here today.
So I'll answer your question, Sophie, with a story. So I was tabling at an event, and I met this couple, and her name was Emily, and she came out to a glean 3 years ago, and we kept in touch, and over time she wanted to leave corporate America, and her first glean was carrots. And fast forward, we would have coffee, we would talk for a while, and she told me how she was drawn to food systems work. And so last year about this time, she called me up and she goes, I really want to work for a year on a farm, but I don't have any experience. And do you think you could help introduce me to some more farmers, because I'm not getting anyone to call me back? And so there was a farm I knew, and Emily ended up working at that farm this year. And she was doing great, to the point where she wants to go back to Virginia and start her own farm. But I was there one day over the summer, and I saw her harvesting carrots, and I went over to say hello, and she said, Dave, she said, the first glean I was ever at, I was harvesting carrots, and after 3 hours I went home and told my partner they should be like $300 a bunch. And so she was exaggerating, but the point being that she made that connection of the value of food and how valuable food is in our lives, and that everybody should have it. And so my hope is, because we all need food, it connects us all, that the work with UpRoot can help reconnect people and begin to help people remember how important food is and how it connects us and how it's memories and culture and stories and a part of our life throughout our lives, and that can begin to help shift people's decisions to be stewards of our food system. So that's my hope, and that's where I see hope and possibility.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing about this amazing organization. I wish that there would be an UpRoot everywhere on the world. It's just amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. I think I don't have any more questions for you, but if you want to share something else, maybe where people can find you, how people can volunteer, join you could share that.
Sure, you can go to uprootcolorado.org, UPROOT Colorado.org for more information. Thank you, Sophie. Thanks, Emily.
Thank you so much.